and I'll go vacuum the other side. At this point, we're done with our 1 1/4 inch screws, and everything from this point is going to be 3-inch screws. We're going to set this decking down now. So we have our 2 boards that were cut. We have the one for this side and the one for this back side. There's my drill. Here's our 3-inch screws. We're going to go ahead and grab our battery, put our battery in our drill. We can take off our temporary pieces that we had on the ends here, because we don't need those no more. Those can go back in the scrap bin. Be careful with the screws when you take them out, because they're usually hot. We're not going to deck from the front back. We're going to deck from the back forward towards us. So we're going to lay this board down. Remember, we've already made the cuts, which let it fit into place. And you notice that I'm not moving my bench yet. I'm going to leave it the way it is because I want it to be in a position so that I can put these screws in. Okay, now, I don't want to clutch anymore. Well, I do want to clutch, but I don't want to clutch that little bit. I'm going to bump my clutch up, because what I want now is I want to countersink these screws. So I'm going to try that at 15. Now, when I'm here, I want to make sure that when I get to here, that I'm marking where the joists are by putting my screws into the joists. So I'm looking down and I'm right line center with the joists. And I want to go down, countersinking these screws on each joist. I want 3 screws in each joist, and then I want 1 screw in the middle and 1 at the end. All countersunk. This looks good. I'm going to back this screw out, send it back down and see if I can get it countersunk. There, got a little bit out of it. Remember, we want 3 screws where all the joists are, because we're going to need that as a location finder. So when we put the next piece on, we know exactly where those joists are. So I'm just taking a handful of screws at a time. I'm putting 1 in the center between the joists, countersinking it almost to the point where the bit holder touches the wood. And I'm looking down to make sure that I'm not running into the screws that I put in to hold these joists in. Remember, those are 3-inch screws. Okay, 16. Apparently that was something hard. There we go. Looking good. 1 in the center. Try to avoid knots and things like that. You notice I'm putting a lot of downward pressure on my drill when I'm doing this. That's because I don't want them to slip or anything like that. It's a very powerful drill. It has no problem putting these screws down into the wood. Looks good. Let's grab this bucket over here. I'm going to have 1 screw in the middle. take that temporary off on this side. That piece will go to the scrap bin. I'm going to let that screw cool off. Okay, let's go with the next piece. We're going to lay these babies right up on top, just like that. I'm going to choose one side to be flush. This is a little bit of a burr right there, but that's not too bad. I'm going to choose this side over here to be the side that everything's flush on. Now that side I could care less, that side's the side that's against the wall, and we're going to keep screwing these decking screws in. Now if you want to pull the board against the other board, you could put the screws in at a little bit of an angle and they'll suck the wood in towards the other piece if you need to. Now there's a knot right here, so I'm going to stay back a little bit. I don't want that knot creating havoc for me. There we go, got it nice and sucked in. I'm only going to put 2 on this one. I don't want to get into that knot. Okay. If you have clamps, you can use your clamps at this point to suck the stuff together. I'll show you how that looks. I have some bar clamps right here. So I want to put this thing and I want to tighten it up. So I bar clamp this baby and it squeezes the pieces together. Then I can run the screws straight down and get plenty of penetration that way. Now I can release the clamp. That's only if you need extra oomph. In this one, it's tight, so I don't need nothing on this one. Just a slight angle to suck it in. Third screw's gonna just go straight down. Okay. Move everything down. I don't think I need any clamps on this one. Just gonna angle a little bit. See how much it sucked that piece down? There we go, we're looking good. Right here on the end, right by you. So I'm looking, and I have a small gap, so we'll try the clamping option a little bit. We'll clamp this thing underneath to get everything out of the way so you can see what's going on here. There we go. We sucked it down nice, so the screws don't need to be angled because we've taken out the slack there, so to speak. Now if you don't have clamps, I wouldn't worry about it too much because it wasn't that big of a discrepancy. Clamp comes off. Time for the next piece of wood. Now if all works well, be able to fit these last two pieces in. Remember, that side I don't care if it's flush, this side I do. So this side we're going to make sure we're flush. Taking a handful of screws. Everything still is flush on this side too, so it looks good. There's no need for a clamp. It's like a 1/16 of an inch gap. That just took the gap out. Same thing here, about a 1/16. This thing has no problem burying those screws. Okay, I don't like that one. Let that one cool off. A little more. The screw is still warm. We're going to send it right back down. Okay, this one's definitely flush. No gap at all. Okay, same thing here on the end. There's nothing to worry about. Everything's cool. There's a little bit what looks like could be a crack, so I'm going to stay off of that. Now we've got to test that last piece of lumber. We already have this one sitting in position. We're going to leave this loose because we want to try to slip that other one in. Now if I did my math correct, it should slip right in. So let's cross our fingers here. Hope that things fit. If they do, that'd be great. If not, it wouldn't be the first time. That looks good. Wow. Pleasantly surprised. Okay, we need to run it that way. It's not flush at all. Not enough power on that. Let me get a scrap. Okay, we are flush, and this looks good too. Back in the scrap bucket. Things are looking great. Pleasantly surprised that that fit. Because there's been, I don't know how many times I've done a project where my stuff did not fit. So today it worked out for us. It worked out well. Now, this one, we gotta go find our row of screws. Next row right here. Whoops. Guess I should have hung on to the drill. Right here. Now we're getting a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to try to suck it that way a little bit. Got a little bit. Not a bad gap by any means. Okay. Now we're on the end. Hello. Hello again. Let's see where we at. Right there. Oops. Little crackage there. Usually on number 8 screws that don't happen. Number 10 screws, yeah. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to, we know that we have a 1-inch overhang on this side. That is to accommodate for the Dillon mounting. So I'm gonna know that the board that I'm running my screws into is 1 inch up, so I need to come about 2 inches away from the back. So let's go ahead and get this last row finished. We're going to start right here on the end. One there. Let's go right here and find our stud. One. Right there, I'm guessing. Yep, that felt solid, so that must have been it. Now I need one in the middle. About right there, I'm guessing. Yeah. That'll be it. Now. And that's the beauty of having a nice screw line, is you're able to know where your screws are. That's good. So we're back over here. I don't know if you can see. I think my battery died on my camera. So I really don't know how much you missed or how much you got to see. So anyway, we're back. Hopefully you can see me set my drill there so I can use that as a reference to where my camera needs to be aimed at. Let's take a look at this stuff. Let's change our angle. My apology, folks, for this crazy camera work. Last one is going to be, we know that our piece of wood comes flush to the outside, so we know that the wood is about right there. And we also know that that would be approximately the center. And this piece over here is a little bit small, so we're not gonna worry about putting a screw in that. We don't want to damage that little piece. If we put a screw in this little skinny piece, there's not really a reason for that. Now I noticed that I got more overhang here, so I probably have a deficit on the other side. So to clear this up, I'm going to take my Sawzall and cut that. Here's my Sawzall. Now I still have 2 bars on my battery. It's crazy. So let's go ahead and plug this baby in. Oh, I forgot. This is an old Sawzall. I can't use my 5 amp hour batteries. Okay, here's my Sawzall. Let's go ahead and make this cut. I'm not going to get too excited. There we go. Kind of made a mess, but it is what it is. That's a Sawzall for you. Still looks okay. Now the fact that we had a surplus over here means that we have a deficit on the other side. So I might need to clean that all up. We'll go look at that. Okay, you can definitely see a discrepancy here. So let me put my safety glasses on. I'm going to go ahead and mark this. Looks like we have how much of a deficit? I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to mark it right there. And let's make a line. We're going to clean all this up right here. So let's get the saw ready. We'll make this cut. Hope the saw fits in here. I might have to, not going to be able to go this way, I'm going to have to change camera angle for you guys. Okay, let's go ahead and cut this edge. Hopefully you can see that. The blade's over here. We're going to start. Here we go. Made quite a mess, but we're all done. Well, folks, if you were thinking that it's time for the vacuum cleaner, you, my friends, are right. It certainly is. So we're going to clean up our mess. Make everything look nice and pretty up here. And then there's more on the floor by my feet. We're all cleaned up. I noticed there's a big old patch of sap right here on the table. I'm going to take and show you that real quick. See that sap right there? I'm going to throw some sawdust on that out of this vacuum cleaner. Boy, that thing was full. Just going to kind of mush that in there and kind of hopefully clean up some of that sawdust out of there. I mean that sap. I don't want that sap rolling around. And this will help with my sawdust too, because again, we're going to be making fire starters with it. So a little sap in the sawdust ain't going to hurt nothing. All it's going to be is just like fat wood. So let's suck that up again. Now that we got rid of that sap, yeah, it's gone. Completely gone. This thing feels like it's full. Let's dump it. Certainly was. I don't want those sticks in there. Okay, now I'm going to get out my blower and blow the table clear. I don't want anything that's sawdust or anything like that on the table anymore. So I'm going to blow this thing off and blow the floor, clean up the area. At this point, we're finished. We can move this thing back against the wall now. So I'm going to start by moving over here. And this baby is heavy. It weighs a pretty penny. I don't want to just shove it in because of the legs. So I'm going to kind of help walk it in. Kind of drag it in. Something like that. Maybe even get underneath a bit. Just kind of straighten up under it and walk it in. Something like that. I want to go a little bit more. There we go. Now we're flush everywhere. Back, make sure the legs look good. They're in a good position. Whew, that is our workbench. That looks cool. That was a very fun project. Well, folks, I want to say thank you for joining me today on this project of building this 12-foot wide reloading bench. I think I'll grab my tape measure right now and I'll get the depth adjustment reading. I want to see how deep it is and how high it is. So the deck is 28 inches from the inside to here, and the height of the deck is 36 inches, and that's what I was hoping for. That's a good height. This is a perfect height to reload on. My last bench that I had was only 6 foot wide. There was a lot of differences between that bench and this one. One of the main differences was because that one was only spanning 6 feet, I was able to get away with using 2x4s for my joists, if you will. Now, because this one spans 12 feet, I bumped that up to 2x6 just to make sure that I had the strength and the structure to hold this thing together. I also made this overhang. I was hoping for between 1 inch and 1 and 1.5 inches. I ended up with about 1.25 inches, so that's perfect. And the tools, I want to talk about the tools briefly. I used obviously all Makita tools. They are kind of expensive, but I'm telling you folks, they are well worth the money. They are worth their weight in gold. The first one I'll talk about is the vacuum cleaner. This is Makita model XLC02. Hopefully you can see that. This worked very well. This was a good vacuum cleaner. It's a brushed type motor. It's a sealed motor. You can't really do anything with the brushes on this. It's an old style motor, but this vacuum cleaner worked good. Didn't have any issues with it. I mean, we were able to capture all of this sawdust. That is a lot of sawdust. And I'm going to be using that for making fire starters. Now, the blower that I used didn't work great. Blowing the floor, blowing the shop, getting rid of sawdust. This thing puts out a generous, very high level of air. In fact, I'll blow it at you, you'll probably get a lot of wind noise. It was strong enough that it was shaking the camera. This is model BUB182. Little blower. This blower has the same type of motor that the vacuum cleaner has, in the fact that it's a brushed design, it's a sealed motor. Let's talk about the Sawzall. We only use that just briefly. This is an old Sawzall. This was model BJR181. Hopefully you can see that. This is an old Sawzall. It's the brushed style motor. See the brushes right there? Right there, and then on the other side right there. They do have, I believe, a newer brushless Sawzall out, but to be completely honest with you, I don't have one. I don't really have a need for one because I don't use a Sawzall that much, and it worked fine for what we needed it for. So that was the Sawzall. The drill, oh man, drill worked like a champ. This thing is a dream. This is XPH07. This is a good drill, man. This thing is brushless design, brushless motor, very ergonomic feel. It's got a little bit of heft to it, but the heft is actually good because when you're putting those screws in, you kind of need that little bit of weight to get them screws down. And I didn't have a lick of problems with it. The clutch worked fabulous. This is just a beautiful drill. High speed, low speed. The light illuminates right where you need it. It was just, I couldn't have asked for a better drill. See them lights? Pretty cool. LED lights. This drill worked fabulous. The saw. This is a brushless motor. 6.5 inch cordless circular saw, model XSH03. I don't know if you can see it right there above my finger, XSH03. This saw is a champion. Thing worked like a dream. It's got a magnesium shoe on it, so that worked really good. The 6.5 inch 24 tooth fruit blade worked good. The saw has the little battery indicator right here when it's running, and then this little circle right here is a green light. And when you're in high torque mode, when you're really getting after it, that little green light lights up, and this thing is full power, brushless design. It is phenomenal. Kicks the life out of all the other saws that I've ever used. It's just a phenomenal saw. Before that one, I used to use this one. This is a model BSS 610. This is a brushed style motor, and this one works good for cross cutting and things like that, but the blade speed is not near as fast. It's an aluminum shoe instead of magnesium. Quite a few differences in performance. This one works okay, it works good, but if you want the cream of the crop, I'm telling you, XSH03 all the way, baby. That thing is awesome. It blows the air. When the air comes out of the motor housing right there, you can see the fins inside down below. It channels that air through this black piece of plastic, and that air comes right here and it blows the sawdust out of your sight picture. So wherever you're going, it's constantly blowing the sawdust out of the way. Just a phenomenal saw. Worked like a champ. Couldn't ask for a better saw. It even has an LED light too on the shoe there. And this thing is 5,000 RPMs. It's got an indicator, like I said. Couldn't have asked for a better saw. saw worked great. In fact, I have the XSH01 7 1/4 circular saw. This one works good. Again, we're dealing with, I'm not sure if that's, I think that is magnesium there. But this one is a brushed style motor, and even though it takes 2 batteries, it does not run as good as this one. This one, hands down, just dominates both of those. I mean, across the board. Ripping, cross-cutting, you name it. The battery holds up. Phenomenal saw. Now, let's talk about the screws. The screws that I chose, these are construction grade screws. These are number 8 by 3 inch. And one of the biggest components behind choosing these screws is the fact that they have the Torx, the T25 head on them. And for me, that was a big deal because I didn't want to sit here and be breaking Phillips bits all day. When I run 3-inch screws that are Phillips, they break the Phillips tips, and I'm sitting there constantly replacing Phillips tips, and it's taken me out of the game. And so I chose the construction grade screws, and they work like a champ. I didn't have not one screw slip other than something that might have been my error. They held on great, and the cool thing about these screws is a couple things. They have a little cutter on the end of them. You can see there's a little cutout section on the tip, and they really eat the wood up, and it just sucks them right in. On the head of the screw up here, you can see those little lines, and those lines, when the screw torques down, those lines keep it locked into position. They're just, I couldn't have said anything better about these screws. They worked out great. Another thing that I like about these screws is the fact that they include a T25 bit, and they only give you one. And at first, you know, I thought, man, that's kind of cheap, but I only used one, and I never had any problems. Those are great screws. 1 1/4 inch, same thing, just a little shorter. They have the cutter in the bottom there, and then also on the head they have those notches as well that are going to tighten up against whatever you're doing. Again, they're T25, and they worked great. Now, if you look at the bit, I used a little Makita bit holder that's magnetic, and that was pretty cool because even though the screws might have been even a long one, the magnet was strong enough to hold it. And for me, when I'm doing a project, I felt like that was kind of important to be able to hold that screw so I don't lose it, because then I can just flop it up there and I can run it. And that worked out great. Now, if I try to remove this thing, see if I can get this bit out. I put a lot of torque on it. Had to get a pair of lineman's pliers. So let's take a look at the bit. This is after doing all kinds of work. It's still, this bit is still in great shape. It didn't have any problems, nothing. I'm trying to find a good angle. No issues at all with that tip. You know, if I would have done this project with Phillips bits, there's no doubt in my mind that I would have probably broke a dozen of them. Phillips just doesn't work for me. But so these choice of materials and choice of things, and I did a lot of homework before I started to break ground on this project. Because I wanted to know exactly what lengths the boards were going to be, what lengths they were going to be, you know, once they were installed, things like that. And I'm glad that I did the homework because the bench turned out great. You might be wondering about why I left the poles in the back so high. That is so later in time I can notch them. I can cut notches out of them, and I can hang another, let's say for example, maybe a 2x4 or a 2x6. Here's a 2x4. So I'll notch them on the back side, and then I'll lift this baby up. And it'll be on the back side, and that'll give me something to screw into so that I can hang cabinets, I can hang plywood I need to hang, and that's why I chose to leave those back poles high, was for that. All the tools worked good. I think the dimensions are perfect. This working height is shorter than my previous bench. And I'll tell you another thing right quick. The battery. BL1850B. This is a 5 amp hour battery, lithium ion, Makita. These babies are expensive, but I mean, I'm sitting here pushing the button and I still have 2 bars left. And I built everything on that battery. One charge. It didn't even die. And I built this whole bench. Every cut, every screw, every vacuum, every blower, the Sawzall. Well, the Sawzall, I think the Sawzall I had to use the other battery because it's the old Sawzall and it didn't fit this. Yeah, but all I did was I cut like a 1-inch piece, so it didn't really matter. But I'm telling you, that battery is worth it. They did a lot of work. Back behind you, where you're at right now, I built another bench, and I'll give you a glimpse of that right now, and I did the same thing. One battery built all of that, and that bench is bigger than the one that you're seeing behind me. This is my reloading bench, and that other one is gonna be like maybe product reviews, maybe unboxings, things like that. So let me pan the camera over and I'll show you this other bench that I made. This one, it's 12 foot and it's instead of 28 inches deep, this one's actually 41 inches deep, I think. Same thing on the back side, I got the real high poles. And I built that one before I built this one. And this one is definitely gonna work out really well for me. I'm really happy about it. I like the height. It's very nice. Now if you look at my old one right there, sorry about the lights, that old one, you've got 2x4s, and I use strong ties, but the 4x4 legs, and that was only 6 feet wide. So that one worked pretty good, but this one, I really think that this is going to work out really good for me. Really happy about how it came out. This was a fun video to shoot. I really enjoyed it. So I want to say thank you guys for joining me today on how to build a fabulous reloading bench. I'm going to be mounting my Dillon here. I'm going to be mounting a rock chucker, and there might be a couple other presses that I'm going to mount on this bench. I wanted it a little bit lower so that my hand's not too high, because I noticed my last bench was a little bit higher, about 1.5 inches higher to be exact than this one, almost 2 inches. And that little bit of difference, I can tell you, it was too high for the handle on my Dillon. So that was part of what went into planning for this one. I didn't gather plans from anybody. I just wrote it down on paper, and it took me a few days to figure out how long the cuts need to be, what type of lumber I need, and it worked out. I mean, I didn't have any lumber left other than this piece here. I had one piece left, and it's not, I think it's maybe a 10-footer now. I don't know. I took a little bit off of it. Let's see how long this is. 8 foot 8 inches. So that's what's left. So I think I did my calculations pretty good as far as what type of material I needed and stuff like that. And this extra wood at the end, that's not bad, considering, you know, that I don't do this for a living. I mean, I do have some experience and I have a lot to learn too, but I just hope that you enjoyed the video. I'd ask that you please thumb it up. I did spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of thought went into this video, and it cost me a little bit of money, and the money that I put into this was money that I generated from you guys. So I want to say thank you. So those thumbs ups and those likes and all those positive comments and things that you do for me, I thank you for those from the bottom of my heart. All these tools, they worked great. I know this video was a bit long, but I wanted to show everything, you know, without skipping anything. So my apology if it was too long, but I just wanted to show everything from start to finish. And yeah, I think it turned out well. You know, if I wanted to use this as a brace underneath the center, I could probably put like a third leg right here in the center. But really, honestly, a 12-foot span using a 2x8, or excuse me, a 2x6, that's plenty of strength on that 2x6 to hold that weight. So, I mean, people build houses and they put, you know, I'm looking at the rafters on my house and they're 2x4s. The house was built in '72 and I'm thinking, wow. Now they did run 2x6s on the back covered patio area, and that's a 15-foot run, and it's metal roof up there, so plywood and everything. So I'm sure that this thing ain't going nowhere. I'm putting my weight up. I'm weighing about 180 pounds, 190 pounds, and it's not going nowhere. So enough talking. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really appreciate you joining me. I can't wait to start mounting some presses on this bench and getting back to what brought you guys to my channel, and that's reloading. I can't wait. It's been too long. It's been way too long. Now, I don't want to get you too excited because that's not going to be all I do, but I promise you there will be some more reloading in the future. So thanks for watching. Have a beautiful day. We'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.